Hey everybody, what is today? Wednesday, January 27th? I don't even know anymore. What I know is it's time for Lock the Chalk NBA. We'll do this coming back and forth a little bit again because NHL has sort of settled down, and certainly on days like today where we've only got a couple of games, it frees up some time and allows me to kind of go back and forth between NBA and NHL. Remember, I'm not your NBA coach. I'm not your NBA guru. What I am is an oversimplifier. And what I've been doing, we've started this lock the chalk thing, which basically means take the popular plays, lock them in, make that your core, move on. It's usually going to be right. And the reason why is because NBA runs in a tighter channel of production for the players. They're just not as volatile as other sports. Therefore, when we spot a good play, it's usually going to be a pretty good play. It may not be the right play or the perfect play, but in a game like cash games where you've got some margin for error, it helps you get there. In games like tournaments where we've been having such great success with MME and nickels and quarters and whatnot, where we're pushing large portions of our core through. You build 50 lineups, 35 are getting through the cash line. That 35 of your 50 lineups are in the top 20% of the world. That's pretty strong. When we do that in uh, with the coaches picks or with whatever you're locking in as your chalk. I mean, we can violate the pure definition of the word here. Um, that's what you need to do. You need to create that tight core, 3, 4, 5 players, something like that, and that way that unit moves together because it's in everything that you do. Now, if I was playing pure tournaments trying to get to the upside and trying to win those things, I might violate those rules a little bit. But as a general rule, here's what we're doing. Okay? We dive into the domination station. We make, say, I don't know, 25 lineups, 10 lineups, whatever you want to make. You can even up this from 18 to almost 20 points if you want. We used to use 20 points. I use 18 to give me a little margin for error, but why not? Let's go up a little bit today, just for shits and giggles. One unique player, tournament mode, 5% randomization, just to mix things up a little bit. They might not even mix. 5% is not much. They might not even mix. That's okay, but it gives it the opportunity to do a little bit. What I'm trying to point out to you in this part of the process is that it really shouldn't be randomizing much at all with NBA. It is such a projection driven sport. Trust your projections and let them do the work. Okay? Scroll down here and sort by minutes now that you've filtered out the poop. Anything below, 18 to 20 points, that's not going to help you much unless it just blows up unforeseen. And it doesn't happen a ton. So we're going to get rid of a lot of these guys down in here that are under 23, 24 minutes as well. Now, if some of these guys were dark green, like I might consider a Jarrett Allen, but I might not. 5.21 is not a big deal. If it was 5.8, 6.2, I'd leave him checked. I'd leave him in my pool. There really isn't anybody down there today. I don't need to worry about it too much, right? You come back up top, see like these darker greens, like see this 5.8 really sticks out at you, 5.76. Those are the guys that if they were way down low, I'd leave them in. Sort by ownership next after you've unchecked some of those boxes. And now we're looking for guys that are going to be chalky as of right now. Now, this is going to change. When news breaks incredibly late, these projections can't keep up with it. You have to go into the news and notes room. You have to then rely on your coaches. When your coaches tell you to lock a guy in, lock him in. I don't care if you already had a different guy locked in. You've got to make some pivots and some. Basically, you get to the line of scrimmage, you notice that those 300-pound dudes are coming to rip your head off. You got to call an audible. You know, there's no other way to beat the slate. If you stand there and let them blitz you, you're going to get killed. We don't want to get killed. So right now, I would probably take a guy like Cameron Johnson, Aaron Gordon, maybe Brandon Ingram. Well, that's two small forwards. Being that 4,600 to 70, if we went pure ownership, we'd leave Cameron Johnson locked in. Okay. Mason Plumlee would be another one. Now, you can make up your mind as to whether or not you want to based on the depth of the center position. If there aren't any other higher owned centers there, then you might leave them alone. But you're trying to decide which of these chalky guys am I locking in. Now, we were early in the experiment locking in just the top 3 or 4, period, end of story. But what we've learned since then is we don't want to lock up our small forward position completely. We want to be open to a little bit of pivoting, a little bit of alternative lineup building. So we may only lock one of those guys. Now, if you want to lock them both, be my guest. They're clearly highly owned players tonight. Same thing with the center position on FanDuel because there's only one of them there. That's it. You're locked. If you want other options, then instead what you might do to Mason Plumlee is you might put an Adore on him, get him up to where the optimizer is going to see him as a tremendous value and pull him into all of your lineups, and then cap his ass at like 85%. Gives you 15% variation, maybe 75%. Maybe 90%. I don't know what your number is. That's up to you to determine. But understand the concept here is now I'm all in on Mason Plumlee except for a smidge of variation. Because if that smidge, and the reason that I even came up with that was a few days ago, Boogie Cousins was an overwhelming smash. He was 69% owned in these tournaments. And he wasn't in the winning lineup. He was, if you're trying to beat 300,000 people playing nickels, he wasn't in that lineup. He was probably in a lot of higher dollar lineups, but he wasn't in, or higher dollar contests, but he wasn't in the nickels or the quarters probably. Clint Capella was. And if you locked him in, you had no room to catch that Clint Capella bid or build that could have put you up there even higher. You still finished fine. Boogie had a great day. But you got to understand where I'm going with this. That's why you might leave yourself a smidge of wiggle room. You can modify this yourself and unlock Cameron Johnson and Aaron Gordon and put them at 90% and give everybody a smidge of wiggle room if you want. But again, you don't want to get too spread out. You get too spread out, now you're no longer going to get 35 of your 50 lineups through the cash line. You're no longer going to get 70 out of 100 of your lineups through the cash line. You're going to get more like 50. You get 50 through and nothing does better than min cash, you break even. If you get only 40 of 100 lineups through and nothing does better than min cash, you don't break even. So if you're wanting to get this to where it can build and grind up kind of a bankroll like cash games can, you've got to operate on a very, very tight core. And the minute I start going down from 100% to 90%, I'm starting to open up that core. I'm starting to loosen up that core a little bit, if that makes sense. Now, I like doing that personally because that helps me get a couple of those lineups that might break free from the pack and go up the leaderboard a good ways. But that's a personal call on you. Now, what else would I do after this? After I've got a couple of these guys kind of locked in, let's call it these three dudes, right? Now I'm going to go into the NBA cheat sheet. Actually, what I do is I come in late nowadays and I just lock the tourney core. I'm not, because this is going to get undone. The tourney core is still going to be somewhat chalky in a lot of cases. It's going to have a pivot in it, but I'm going to use this stuff as my lock the chalk type of stuff. It gets me back in line with more of the cheat sheets. I want you guys to understand where this stuff's coming from in the beginning, and I like to also be in line with my coaches. I don't have time to sit and research and play and study and stuff like that. So I don't think I'm better than they are or anything. I might as well just let them do the heavy lifting for me, set my core, move on. No big deal. I'll make the pivots though. That's one thing I will do. And when I've locked in a core of players here, I move into the research station for my pivots. And the first thing I do is I come over here to the ceiling section. I sort it by descending order. And that's what brings all the big ceilings to the top, right? And now I'm going to use the filter tool just briefly to get rid of the blanks. And these dudes are going to go away. And hopefully it wasn't anybody that had a big name or anything like that. If it was, then I'm missing somebody. But this sets me up to start looking. Okay, point guard. Luka, Kyrie, Steph. Okay, Luka's 6.5x is his ceiling number. If he goes for 8, great, right? If he goes for 80 or beyond, okay, fine. Luka can break the slate, so you might want to include him. Kyrie, if he hits his ceiling number at 7.5x, that's going to be possibly a tournament winning inclusion. Steph Curry, we know he can go higher than 65. What is a ceiling number? A ceiling number just means 75% of the time we're going to be below this, but 25% of the time they can go above it, kind of based on standard deviations and whatnot. It's about 25% of the time, 25% of the time, the guy might go over that number. That's all it is. The numbers are just a barrier. It's not really a number. It's just a barrier of what he is under 75% of the time or so. Now, if he gets to that number, he can go to 8x. I want to take my true slate breakers. Trae Young. Down in here, maybe there are a few others that you recognize that I'm not going to recognize. But Doncic, Irving, Curry, Fox, Young, I'm going into my point guard section, and I'm loving them all, right? There's Curry, Give me an Adore on that dude. Fox, give me an Adore on the dude. Kyrie, give me an Adore on there. Doncic, give me an Adore on there, right? Now I've got them. I've got them pretty set. I may have missed one or left one out. But here's what I'm looking at again. When I'm sorted by ownership, now I can play the ownership game. 17% on Steph Curry. If I want leverage on a great game out of Steph Curry, then I'm going to want to go time and a half, double the field to like 30, 35%. That may be too much, Steph Curry, because his ownership's already a little bit too high. What you love seeing is like a Bradley Beal or somebody way down here. There, like Trae Young. If I give Trae Young a boost and then I say, you know what? He might break the slate tonight and he's only at 1-2% ownership. Give me 10% Trae Young. I've got 10 times the leverage of the field on Trae Young now. Okay? You get up here towards the top and you get some of these guys that are a little bit, I might not mess with Steph Curry that much, 20%. I don't want to go to 30 to 40%. Could I match the field? Sure. But there's, it's one of those tweeners. If he was at 25, 30%, I would have leverage in fading him, right? But this is a weird number. Same with De'Aaron Fox. But if I loved his matchup tonight, I'd go double the field on De'Aaron Fox. On Kyrie Irving, I'd go double the field on Kyrie Irving, right? I'll go double the field on Steph. Whatever. It's your call, but you're starting to play the leverage game, which is where tournaments are won and lost. If I come over here to shooting guard now and I start looking at some of these guys, there's Bradley Beal, James Harden, Van Vliet, Wiggins, Shai. Some of these guys can break slates. Who's set up to do so maybe tonight? Wiggins, if he has a good night. I'm not going to come way down here towards the turds, but I'm still going to want a little bit of some of these other guys. Beal, Harden, Van Vliet, right? So I come down here and I put an Adore on Bradley Beal. He's getting way too much ownership tonight, though, for his projection. Look at this projection. Bradley Beal is projected a ceiling number at about 6x. That's okay for his floor. He needs to go way over this to really break the slate and be a factor. So I would probably adjust this by just leaving him alone. And in fact, I might cap him at half the field. See what I did? I capped him at half the field because I didn't like that matchup. Van Vliet is okay. Wiggins. Let's find Wiggins. Van Vliet and Wiggins. Van Vliet down here. See, he's a little lower in the ownership market. I can go double the field on Van Vliet easy enough. Where's Shai? Shai's another one could break the slate, right? And it's not too hard to get double the field on Shai. Wiggins, same diff. Not too hard to double the field on Wiggins. And now I'm kind of leveraged, but I'm not leveraged with a ton of my lineups. I'm leveraged with 20%. Just happens to be double the field. Happens to give me leverage on the rest of the GPP players out there. If he doesn't go off, it doesn't hurt me too bad. But remember, it is spreading out my core. And once I do that through all of the positions using the ceiling tool, the other things that we have here, our coaches' cheat sheets, our notes, whatever. If I see, I agree, this guy might have some leverage tonight, so I want to go way over the field on him. I've had guys at 5% projected ownership. I've gone 75% on. These are the things that you have to start thinking creatively. Remember, these are just numbers that we're looking at. You have to get good at thinking through the numbers, beyond the numbers, around the numbers, above them, below them, behind them, whatever. You have to use these numbers as a tool to tell you a story, and then you have to take advantage of it. You go to that second. See, first level thinkers are people who just see the numbers and plug them in. And we start our base process there because that's what at least gets us on par with the average player. But to be great, we've got to start going beyond. We've got to do what they're not willing to do. The average player is lazy. The average player just plugs in numbers, clicks a button, and moves on. He wants a lineup built for him. The elite know how to take advantage of that. They know how to exploit that. And they use it. Oh, you're going to be 30% on tonight? I'm going to be 10%. Oh, you're only going to be 12% on tonight? I'm going to be 30%. They go up and down in the ownerships to make sure that they have leverage on the right plays, and they sit back and they wait for the night that they're right. And when they're right, they explode and they make a ton of money. And that's what we're trying to teach you to do here at DFS Army. Hopefully this process helps you. Hopefully using some of these tools together helps you build lineups, helps you build effective lineups, helps you get some advantage on the field in a game like NBA. So anyway, That'll be Lock the Chalk for today, Wednesday, January 27th. I hope you guys have a good time. Always, always, always tune in for that late news because it's going to make a difference on big slates. Peace out, homies. Talk to you soon.